do I need to be informed to be a good voter? And it's a question that sounds simple, and it is something that actually is kind of complicated, and people study it in great detail. And one of the things they do is define terms, and one of the terms you need to define is good voting. And I would be convinced by the argument that you can be a good voter just by showing up, or at least you go a long way to being a good voter just by showing up. Underrepresented groups in particular, like young people, tend to benefit from members of their group showing up to vote. Politicians know who shows up, they know who doesn't show up, and they know that when they make policy that they need to pay attention to those who show up. Now, when you get into the booth and you're trying to make a decision about whether you're making the right choice, the good choice, the correct choice for you, it gets more complicated. And the complicated answer is one that relies on the study of what are generally considered to be cues and shortcuts in how people make political choices. Those cues and shortcuts are of various sorts. We can make political choice based on things like the background of the person that's running for office, their education, their gender, their religion, whether they've been endorsed by stars or newspapers, etc., and their political party. These are the kinds of pieces of information that are easy to pick up and that people use to make decisions. Some of these pieces of information are better than others. Things that pertain to a candidate's likability tend to be easily manipulated. You can hire somebody to handle you to look likable. But harder things to manipulate are things associated with your ideology, in particular your party affiliation. A good candidate presented after a strong vetting process from a political party tends to be someone that is going to behave in predictable ways when they get out there. And that is an easy to see piece of information. We tend to denigrate parties now. We tend to think it's better to be independent, it's better to be someone who thinks on their own. But parties are actually very good and very helpful for us in low information settings to make the right choice for us about a political candidate. And if you know yourself and you know your party and you show up to vote, you are 90+% of the way to making a good informed choice in the voting booth.